Hi everyone, welcome to another Q&A hosted by Wildscreen. I'm Jacob and today I'm joined by Dax Dasilva, founder of the non-profit Age of Union and executive producer of the film Caught, which was included in our 2022 official selection. Hello Dax.
Hello, good to meet you, Jacob.
So Dax, before we get started, could you let me know where you're joining from today?
I'm in Montreal, Canada.
Okay, fantastic. So like I said, you were the executive producer of Caught, which was part of our official selection last year. Could you tell me a bit of the background of yourself and Age of Union and how you got involved in the production of the film Caught?
Yeah, happy to. So Caught is the third documentary that Age of Union's produced. Who we are is we're a nonprofit that does environmental conservation all around the world. We are pretty new. We started I started the foundation in October of 2021 with a $40 million gift. My background is I was at the founder and CEO of a tech company called Lightspeed. And recently became the chair of that, went from CEO to chair. So now I'm dedicating all my time to conservation. This has got to be the decade of action on our planet to just change the narrative, change the trajectory. So our first 10 projects, cover lots of different ecosystems, many different kinds of scenarios of the kinds of conservation that we're going to need to do in this decade. One of the projects that we announced, I think it was our fourth announced project, was our ship with Sea Shepherd, the MY Age of Union. It's a 50-meter ship that's doing a lot of that's fighting IUU, illegal and unreported and illegal fishing. The kinds of fishing that's done by trawlers and a lot of vessels on the high seas that's really having a negative impact on our marine wildlife. And so we announced that ship in January of 2022. And there was a mission that it was doing off the coast of France, documenting some of the activity of the super trawlers and all the fish they were dumping, the bycatch they were dumping on the ocean. And this is so out of sight, out of mind, because it's out there on the high seas, and unless somebody's watching and tracking it, nobody knows. And I think the real story is, what are the consequences of that? And there's about 10,000 dolphins that are washing up on the shores of France. And so the story of Caught is how are all of these elements coming together? The super trawlers coming through these areas, scooping up millions of fish, the dolphins coming closer and closer to shore, being caught in the local fishermen's nets. It seems related, and so we went into an investigation mode with the MY Age of Union on Zodiac boats with Sea Shepherd, and that's the story of Caught. And so we get to the bottom of why 10,000 dolphins are dying every year in the nets, which is the biggest dolphin kill that's happening on the planet.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Dax. You've really brilliantly preempted my next question, which was to summarize Caught for our audience. Yeah. And I've watched it a couple of times, and it is very much kind of a review of the relationship that Age of Union has with Sea Shepherd. And it's really telling the story of the new ship, the Age of Union, and how it's kind of exploring this horrific, under the depth circumstances happening. And you feature in the film yourself, don't you?
Yeah, I think, that's out of the 10 projects that we sponsored, we've been to 8 this year. And so that was one of our early, and some of them, on some of these trips, we do, a short documentary like Caught. So it's about the relationship with us and our projects, and and us getting on the ground with them or on the ocean with them, as the case is here. But I think what's unique about Caught is, by looking at this story about the dolphins, and we are almost able to tell the story of what's happening on the ocean at large. The story of 10,000 dolphins being killed per year, I think, has an effect on a human as we hear that. But there are, trillions of fish being caught, in an unsustainable way because of our consumer choices. And so we try to tell that larger story about where does this seemingly limitless supply of fish that we see being harvested for 8 billion people on this planet, many of which are eating fish every day or multiple times a day. How is that happening? and how long can that last, and how is that being done, and to show people the industrialized factories that are basically emptying our seas and bringing fish levels to extinction level for many species, and eventually all species of marine wildlife, and what's being caught in the process that dies, like these dolphins. So, we were able to show our project, and we were able to show sort of a small part of the investigation of the initiative, but hopefully we're able to tell a much bigger story about where does seafood come from, and why, and even questions like is it seafood, where we're looking at fish as almost a commodity, or should we really be thinking about sea life? And is that something that we should, fruit of la mer, which is what they say in France. The film is shot in France. Fruit of the sea. Fish are not fruit. Industrial fishing vessels are not farmers. They're pulling wild animals out of the ocean. So that's the context of this film and what we're trying to talk about.
That's a really memorable moment in the film as well, is it's you saying, fruit de la mer, fruit of the sea, to your contributors on location, and them going, yeah, that's how people see things. It's fruit of the sea. They are a commodity and not an animal, and that's what you're trying to highlight. And you did talk there about the impact on the individual of seeing this story unfolding. What was the filmmaking experience like for you on location?
Yeah, I think this was a remarkable it was a remarkable shoot. We were in some of these fishing towns, Sable d'Olonne, La Rochelle, where Sea Shepherd is not a welcome, especially Sable d'Olonne. Some of the fishing towns, they see Sea Shepherd as an adversary. But what's interesting about these conversations and about what's happening is, if we'd shot this film 5 years ago, I don't think we would have had the mayor of La Rochelle or some of the fishermen or some of the people. We have a gentleman that was making nets. We wouldn't have had those people willing to be in a film that also featured Sea Shepherd. But this is how much things are changing. The people that are involved with fishing in these coastal towns and cities are quite worried. They're very concerned about what they're seeing in terms of the drop off in the number of fish. They're seeing dolphins. They don't want to be catching dolphins. It's because as there's less and less fish, and as the super trawlers come and scoop up all the fish, dolphins are coming closer to the coast, and are being caught in the local fishermen's nets, and there's less and less fish, and so they're speaking to us because they're also hoping to understand what's going on and be and try to find out what the solution is, because they could see that the way things are going, that their lifestyle might be at risk, that their children and grandchildren may not have the same kind of opportunities, the same kind of diet, the same kind of cultural cuisine, that they may lose their culture within a generation because of what's happening. And so Sea Shepherd is maybe less of an adversary and more of somebody also trying to find the solution.
That's brilliant. So the film covers some quite difficult and sensitive subjects, most notably bycatches you've been talking about. Are there any challenges associated with featuring this sensitive material?
It's very difficult to watch. I mean, it's difficult to watch dead dolphins. It's difficult to see, what looks like an oil slick, on the ocean, but when you realize it's just hundreds of thousands of dead fish that have been dumped as bycatch by a super trawler passing through, I think it's important for people to see how we get our fish, what the consequences are. I think it's at some point, we all have to know where our food comes from, and we're disconnected from it. And I think that people think, oh, I'm going to quit, I was in the same category. I'm going to stop eating meat, chicken and beef, and I'm going to eat fish. But actually it's actually a very tough thing to see how fish comes onto our plates. And I think that that's a big part of what we're trying to expose in the film, is like, how does it get there? Like, are we okay with trawlers having kilometer and kilometer on the ocean and pulling everything up to kill it? Everything. Like, we'd never get away with this on land. We'd never be able to put miles and miles and kilometers of nets and pull up everything living, to maybe sift 2% out of it that's the species you're allowed to catch, and everything else gets brushed off or dumped as dead. It's just, it's horrific, and it's something that we allow to happen because we want everything to be so cheap. So is there a sustainable way to do fishing in the way that it's currently caught? No. Are there other alternatives? Well, not really, that are being, used in any sort of large way. So yeah, I know, I think it's these are important things to discover. And I think that the length of the film, which is, under 40 minutes, about 35 minutes, I think people can get a good sense of all of that in a very short commitment of time. And I think that's sort of, what we aimed for with this, to show the cultural, show the community, show what's happening, show the issue with the dolphins, but also give a sense of what's happening with bycatch and what's happening on the ocean at large.
There's one particularly hard-hitting part of the film where Paul Watson encourages the kind of French division of Sea Shepherd to take some of this bycatch to the National Assembly in France to show to the public as they're walking by. It's very much a heartbreaking part of the film. How did you feel about hearing that was going to happen?
Yeah, bring the dead dolphins to the Eiffel Tower, to the National Assembly, and literally spectators, people that walking by, didn't even really believe they were real animals. A lot of people in France don't know there's dolphins off the coast. That was, I think, a recurring theme. Like, there's dolphins. We have, and people were quite horrified, quite concerned. I think well, it was interesting. Lamia Assemlali, who's the head of Sea Shepherd France, and who led these campaigns with the support of Paul Watson. They were threatening her with legal consequences for doing this. But she was reminding people that the spirit of the law that they're threatening her with is to protect dolphins and to protect ocean life, and that to attack Sea Shepherd for shedding light on what's happening out there, because they don't like the method in which she's doing it, or they don't like that they're being so raw in the delivery of the message. The spirit of the law is to protect these animals. And it's not about the technicality of how they're doing it, but how they're doing it is important in order to bring attention to it, because the ocean is out of sight, out of mind, and I think that the reality of it is so far from somebody in Paris, that in order for people to really be woken up, is there's got to be some strong raw communication about what's going on, for people to want to be a voice for these voiceless creatures that not only do they have the disadvantage that we don't see them, but they're beneath the waves. It's we have to be a real vocal proponent for them, because dolphins don't vote, fish don't vote. If we want to create a sense of the real tragedy that's at play here, we need to really touch people with the reality. And I think that was brilliant to bring these animals that perished onto the National Assembly, and bring a degree of embarrassment to the government.
That's brilliantly put. Now, back to Age of Union, you recently celebrated your 1-year anniversary as a non-profit. Alongside your work with Sea Shepherd, are there similar themes across the other projects that Age of Union have been working on?
Yeah, so there's 10 projects. They've 4 of them are in Canada, 2 in Quebec, 2 in BC. There are some waterway projects in the Canadian ones. There's the restoration of the St. Lawrence River, where there's projects to support all the whales that almost every species of whale can be found in the mouth of the St. Lawrence River. It's remarkable. I just had a meeting with the Catsi First Nations in British Columbia about rechanneling water into an area of the Pitt River watershed that's been cut off by logging roads from river water. And so, we are hoping to do a restoration that rebuilds the salmon habitat there. So, we're doing a lot of land-based projects, but we're supporting a lot of marine wildlife that's the kind that we show in the Sea Shepherd. But yeah, some of the other projects are, we have projects in every one of the large equatorial tropical rainforests, the Peruvian Amazon with jungle keepers, the Congo, the Congo rainforest with Forest Health Alliance and Strong Roots, which is our next film, and then also in Indonesia with Chani, with Kalawait, the Dulan Forest, and then the other projects are in Haiti with the restoration project there, and then leatherback turtles in Trinidad on Matura Beach, which is an important one of the last nesting grounds. So that's our 10 projects. There's and of course the only ship that we have is with Sea Shepherd. That's kind of a cool project that allows us to work on this. Last year we were on the coast of France. A lot of African nations we have partnered with, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Gabon, and others to help with some of the trawlers that are pulling fish out out of the coast of those nations. If you think about where they are located, some of the, if you think about where the biodiverse is richest in terms of like land, like the equatorial forests, if you look at the coasts of those African nations, the West Coast in particular, that's actually where you've got the most marine life. It's where you've got the most biodiverse, and so you'll find on the West Coast of Latin America and the West Coast of Africa that there are mirrors of the Amazon and of the Congo Basin, but the marine version. And so that's where you've got a lot of illegal trawlers coming from Asia and other places trying to from those areas mostly illegally, and then there's nothing left for local people that are fishing for their own families. So that's why the African nations have brought in Sea Shepherd to help.
Sounds like you've been incredibly busy, Dax.
It's been busy, yes.
So you were working with Emma Silverstone-Segal, who directed this project. There's still a shortage of women being promoted in directorial roles. What advice would you give to other organizations that are looking to make space for women in these positions?
Yeah, I think it's really important to be able to give opportunities. Emma worked on a couple of our earlier films. This was her directorial debut, and I think she did an amazing job. Was able to learn a lot from some of the great directors that we've worked on previously. One of which Trevor Frost and Melissa Lesh that did our very, very first film called The Heart of a Mission, which was us meeting our first project, Jungle Keepers in the Peruvian Amazon. They just put out their feature-length film called Wildcat on Amazon Prime. It's been the #1 movie on Amazon Prime for 2 weeks in a row. So that's an incredible feature-length film that they did. So we've been learning, Emma and the team has been learning from some of these incredible folks that have been in film longer than us. And just I think in order to create opportunities for people that are new to doing documentary film and to doing film, like some of the folks on our team, it's about creating an opportunity to have exposure to great talent, and then being able to create greater and greater opportunities, and being able to be willing to take some risks and experiment, and also have big ambitions when it comes to doing things like a Sea Shepherd film, which is a little bit on land, a little bit on sea, in France, and then also in Egypt, in the Red Sea, doing some underwater work. I think that we all up-leveled in terms of knowing all these different kinds of elements of filmmaking that we were able to tackle with this film.
That's fantastic. Now, speaking about the kind of future for Court, what are your goals for the film on both a local level and an international level, or in a similar vein, how do you feel it's attained its goals since being released?
Yeah, we were able to do a premiere for Caught in Toronto during the Toronto Film Festival. during TIFF. We also did a premiere in Paris. So the Paris premiere, because cod is, it is for the most part a French story. I mean, the bycatch story is international, but told through this particular example. I feel like that's created a lot of amazing conversations. We've already had impact with the French government. There's already cameras being installed on 100 fishing vessels, and to prevent dolphin bycatch with the local fishing fleet. It's not the whole solution, but it's a big part of the solution. So there's already been some reaction, from the French government, and a lot of great collaboration. And then there's been a lot of distributors and so on that have been interested in picking this up in French markets and in some other markets. So TBD, there's some exciting news to come.
That's absolutely fantastic to hear. Now, our audience likes to hear about behind the scenes on productions. So do you have a most memorable moment from when you were on location working on Court?
I think one of the most one of those special moments of my life, I think, was taking a Zodiac from La Rochelle, a couple kilometers to see the Age of Union for the first time, and circle it. It's Paul Watson's my hero. I can't think of another person that saved not just one species, but all species of whales, through 50 years of sacrifice and putting one's life at risk. And so it was a dream for Age of Union to work with Sea Shepherd and to have our name on an amazing battleship like this, a research vessel that looks a little bit like a crazy battleship. It was a real, I had tears. It was quite incredible. And then to get to go on there to talk to the crew, to learn about the ship, and to do part of the film on it. That was just sort of next level. Then to go, to do the behind the scenes, 5 a.m, go out to the Zodiacs in Sable d'Orléans with this Sea Shepherd France crew, where they would do these overnight 12-hour missions from actually it was 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. the next day, where they would go out onto the ocean. And I was actually supposed to be on one of those boats, but we actually put our drone guy on there instead so that they could do some overhead. That was a really cool experience, because they literally sit on these boats for 12 hours and follow the local fishing boats in order to capture a dolphin being pulled up. And that doesn't happen all the time, but like, they'll do that 3 or 4 nights a week. So to get into their world, riding out, and some of our film guys were saying there's just incredible, bioluminescent, sea life, that there's certain parts where you're out there driving towards where the fishing boats are, where you're just, there's the mist of clouds at that time of night. It's just one of these sort of, mystical experiences of, you don't know where you are. And then the fear of potentially being able to see a dolphin at the end of its life, being caught in these nets, is an anxiety that it's one of the most incredible experiences, but also could be maybe one of the most horrific things that you're about to see. It didn't happen on our mission that night, but that's always a possibility.
It's such a fantastic opportunity to kind of be working so closely with Sea Shepherd, who do such incredible work. And the footage that you've got in Court, I'd recall a clip where you actually see a dolphin get hauled up through a net, tipped over the side of the deck, and you can hear the thud of when it hits the deck. It's such an impactful, I mean, it's horrific, isn't it? It's
heartbreaking. Yeah, it's truly, they're so close to us, dolphins, in terms of intelligence and in terms of, we have feelings. We have a feeling for when they're in pain. I think we feel protective of them. We should feel more protective of them and not allow them to be in dolphinariums and all these kinds of things. But I think we're starting to get that awareness. So to see that happen, I think it affects us. And they are, in a way, in the film, the ambassador because we care about them. We care about dolphins and whales. They're an ambassador for all the other sea life that may not be as charismatic, but are equally important in terms of life that we should be trying to protect.
It's a very powerful message. So my last question for you, Dax, and you touched on this a little bit earlier when you were talking about some of your other projects, is what's next for Age of Union? What other film projects have you got in the works?
Yeah, so recently we were co-executive producer of Wildcat. Encourage everyone to go see that incredible movie. We're very close with the people in that film, and they worked on our short film Heart of the Mission. Next film from us that we shot and produced ourselves is a film coming out this spring on our project in the Congo about a wildlife corridor that ultimately will benefit gorillas and other wildlife that's at risk as the population in this part of Congo goes from 100 million to 170 million in the next 7 years, by 2030. And what kind of pressure does that put on the forests that are relied upon by eastern lowland gorillas, which number in the thousands in terms of what's left after all the wars that have happened in Congo. So very important story that features a change maker, an individual that through their vision and through their work, it's an amazing Congolese leader. They've been able to really change the game, not just in terms of what's happening in Congo, but what they've been able to do in this war-torn and economically disadvantaged country, politically unstable country, is actually probably a model for what could be possible in all these equatorial rainforests that are at risk. There's really something remarkable happening in Congo. So look for that Congo film from Age of Union, sometime this spring.
I'm sure we all will. Dax, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today, and congratulations to yourself and the team on producing such an eye-opening film. More information on course will be available in the description below. Thanks also to our audience for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with all future Wildscreen filmmaker Q&As. That's bye from myself and Dax Dasilva.
Thank you, Wildscreen.